Hello and welcome to luxurytolast.com. Today we're talking collecting watches and we're talking a very, very popular brand which is TAG Heuer. And the question comes up, is TAG Heuer a brand worth collecting? Now look, I'm going to be completely honest and brutal here. In my own honest opinion, TAG Heuer itself is probably not a brand worth collecting. The funny thing is, so many people who are not watch people, you say to them, what's your dream watch? What watch would you really like to have? And a lot of them say TAG Heuer. And that just shows you the power of marketing. Look, TAG Heuer has a long history. Heuer itself has had some really fantastic watches. They had one of the first chronographs. They had the Monaco, the Carrera. They had some wonderful iconic pieces, but in 1985, when the name TAG Heuer was formed, it really, in my opinion, took a backward step, because they released such models like the TAG Heuer Formula 1. They had models which were just basically quartz pieces with standard ETA Swiss movements in them. And in all honesty, I don't see the collectability of these type of watches. It's sort of funny, you mentioned TAG Heuer, and a watch collector knows you're a novice if you say, well, I really like TAG Heuer, because it's really, I'm not trying to put the brand down, because the brand has done a lot to attract watch collectors into the fold. And believe you me, there have been some magnificent, very intelligent people who've started their working life with TAG Heuer. One of the most famous TAG Heuer people is Barack Obama, who has a classic TAG Heuer 1500 series watch. So you've got some very strong world leaders who have bought TAG Heuer watches on their own bat without any funding. They've done it because they've liked the brand themselves, and that's a sort of an indicator of the type of people who have grown up with TAG Heuer, and it's a very strong brand. My own opinion itself, anything marked TAG Heuer is not so collectible. The early Heuer pieces are iconic and are certainly worth collecting. Now, TAG Heuer, which I must say I am actually pleased about, they have actually released reincarnations of the classic iconic pieces, and that's certainly a good thing. So those new reincarnations, although they're not as valuable as the original pieces, they are certainly worth having. Heuer's got some classics, like they had the Heuer triple date chronograph, which came out late 50s, early 60s. Heuer had the Carrera. They had the Autavia, and they also had one of my personal favourite chronographs, the Monaco. I mean, those are beautiful, iconic pieces. And TAG themselves, I've got to hand it to these boys, because if you asked me a couple years ago what I thought of TAG Heuer, I would just tell you it's a shit brand. It's just a generic Swiss movement with a shitload of marketing. But TAG is starting to turn the card around, and TAG Heuer released the Grand Carrera RS, and I'll be honest with you, I was working at a big engineering company, and one of the guys who likes watches, he showed me he got a TAG Heuer Grand Carrera RS, and I thought, oh shit, what did you buy a TAG for? I didn't want to say that to him, but when I actually looked at it and thought, geez, this is actually quite a nice watch, and it's got the dial section's been cut out to show some of the movement, and it's quite a. And when I saw that piece there, I thought, geez, maybe it's not worth writing TAG Heuer off. And I think this is a great thing about the brand. The brand is owned by the huge Louis Vuitton conglomerate, and they certainly are very smart marketers, and they're very clever in how they market the brand and develop new models, and that certainly is not a bad thing. LVMH, Moet Hennessy, Louis Vuitton, the owner of TAG Heuer, is they've done some wonderful things with Louis Vuitton. They've done some wonderful things with many of the brands that they've taken over. And the fact that TAG Heuer can be taken seriously now just shows you some of the good work that they've done. Will tags be collectible in the future? Well, look, if you love TAG Heuer and there's a particular model you like, I don't think it hurts to have one in your collection. But I personally would not concentrate solely on having a TAG Heuer collection. I think the general models are just too plain, and they're just basically quartz pieces with ETA movements in them. But if there's a tag piece, like I know a really good collector who had a piece which his girlfriend at the time, which later became his wife, gave him, so he'd never sell that piece, and that's what happens. So my own opinion, I still think if you're going to be investing money in watches, there's a lot better watches you can buy for the money than TAG Heuer. However, there are some beautiful models, and those old models, the Aquaracer, the Carrera, the Monaco, the Grand Carrera, those pieces like that, they're really reinvigorating the line. So you can really see that there could be some great potential there. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed the photos that are on the screen here. And please come to my free website, www.luxurytolast.com. Heaps of watch articles, heaps of pictures and videos, and please post me a comment. Thanks very much.